I'm Cameron Ridle. Here's what's making news at RTV6 and theindychannel.com. The Indianapolis Colts will be without wide receiver LaVon Brazil, who was suspended for at least 1 year without pay for violating the league's substance abuse policy. Brazil is receiving a full season suspension after he was suspended for 4 games last season with a drug violation. Brazil was in the running among other receivers to possibly make this year's team, but that was looking more doubtful with the drafting of rookie wide receiver Dante Moncrief and the signing of Hakeem Nicks. Brazil has played for the Colts for 2 years with nearly 350 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. An Indianapolis man is headed to prison for his actions in a reckless homicide hit and run that caused the death of a 6-month-old boy. Yashiron Stafford and his family were visiting Indianapolis, and they were contemplating moving to our city to escape the violence of Chicago. But as Derek Thomas reports, all they got was death and despair.
The father of the 6-month-old victim called the defendant a coward, saying he ran instead of offering aid to his dying son. Mr. Shinneman, do you apologize for what happened? Anything at all to say? The defendant was consistently silent inside and outside the courtroom. But on the night of March 4th, he drove his car 91 miles per hour along West 38th Street. He bumped into the rear of a car driven by Warren Shafford, causing it to spin and crash. 6-month-old Yeshua Shafford was ejected from the back seat of the vehicle and landed under a guardrail. His father hustled to find him and instead encountered Shinneman.
I talked to the guy. He told me that he didn't do it. It was somebody else. Pointed out another guy at the scene, and then he ran. So,
you called him a coward.
Yes.
Talk about that.
He is.
Call him how you see him.
Yeah, and he just got what he deserves, man. Yeah, I wish it was more time, but it's not.
Shinneman was sentenced to 4 years in prison and 1 year on work release. After that is completed, he must serve 3 years on probation.
I'm satisfied. I don't feel good about it. I mean, I wish he could have got life, but unfortunately, that's not what the law allowed.
According to the plea agreement, 5 years was the most Shinneman could have received, but there are safeguards in the probation requirements.
During that probationary term, he will be on alcohol monitoring to make sure that he is not consuming any alcohol, and the judge made it very clear that during that 3-year period, if it is determined that he consumes any alcohol or violates probation in any way, he will serve the remainder of his sentence in the Department of Corrections.
Shinneman's driver's license is also suspended for 5 years. In Indianapolis, Derek Thomas, RTV6.
Shinneman was on probation for a prior drunk driving case at the time of this latest offense. Funeral arrangements have been set for the Tipton County Sheriff killed last week in a crash. Visitation for Deputy Jacob Calvin will be Sunday from 2 to 8 at Carroll High School in Flora. The funeral will be held at the same place Monday at 11 a.m. Deputy Calvin was killed in a crash while on duty Saturday night. An Indiana man is dead after an accident on a cell phone tower in Kentucky. 28-year-old Joel Metz of Plainfield was killed Wednesday after being decapitated in an accident. Authorities say the 4 workers at the site were replacing booms. Metz and another worker were on the tower, and the other 2 workers were on the ground. The men, who all work for an independent company contracted out by Verizon, authorities say it was a gruesome scene with all 3 survivors witnessing it all.
Not too many people are used to seeing that. And it's a guy that you've been working next to, and it could have been him. Nobody else was injured. And they're very much beside themselves.
Authorities say a cable snapping or becoming unhooked caused the 1,800-pound boom to fall. Officials kept people away from the site as they worked to bring the body down. Verizon released a statement saying, "Our thoughts are with the family, loved ones, and colleagues of the worker who died in the July 2nd incident near Cynthiana, Kentucky. We are working closely with our vendor and the Sheriff's Department as they continue into investigating the situation." That is the news of this hour. The latest from Storm Team 6 is coming up right here on HTSN.